Back to that question in a few moments. But first, I did notice that Ukrainian drones have targeted St Petersburg in an attack that Russia calls unprecedented. More than 140 drones shot down over the Leningrad region, according to the governor, whilst the city's governor has urged residents to remain indoors for the first time since the war began. Joining me to discuss this is Cormac Smith, former strategic communications advisor to Ukraine's former Foreign Affairs Minister, Pavlo Klimkin. Thank you very much indeed for joining me, Cormac. How significant an escalation is this?
Ali, thank you for having me on. Look, I don't think it's a significant escalation. It's part of Ukraine's wider strategy at the moment of with deep strikes of targeting, in particular, Russia's oil industry. One of the main targets that was the main oil export terminal. But I think there was a second reason for doing this. It was timed to coincide with the St Petersburg International Economic Forum and to make a very, very public statement to the international audience that would have been there. And I also note, there was the airport was closed for some time. There were over 30 flights cancelled. Mobile internet was down for some time. So it's likely, I think we can say for certainty that those people attending the Economic Forum would have been very, very well aware of this. So a positive in something that is a total war, a very positive statement made by the Ukrainians, not just to Russia, but to the international community who would have been attending.
Now, Volodymyr Zelensky posted on social media today that it was time to end the war, but accused Russia's leader of wanting to keep fighting. He did ask for direct talks with Vladimir Putin, which were rebuffed. Now, the drones that have been launched here covered a distance of 1,000 kilometres, 620 miles, to St Petersburg, and apparently targeted the enemy's navy arsenals and a base in Kronstadt. I mean, this is coming basically home to Russian soil. We've seen this before, but this is definitely taking the war directly onto Russian soil.
Yes, it is, but more significantly, it's taking it to the Russian people in St. Petersburg and in Moscow, who have largely been unaffected by this war. They have not seen their sons drafted into the war, and these two cities are where the wealthy middle classes live, and this would be where Putin's very important support base is. So from Ukraine's point of view, I think it has, and actually to go back, I said it wasn't an escalation. Yes, it is an escalation, but from Ukraine's point of view, I think it's a very important and effective escalation. And as you just said, Zelensky wrote an open letter to Putin inviting him to leader talks without intermediaries on a neutral venue. Putin has turned that down and says he doesn't see any point in having it at the moment. I think that makes very, very clear that Putin is not interested in peace or in ending this war.
Cormac, what's the end game?
Oh, that is really very hard to see. I mean, I was put on the spot on another interview recently, and I predicted some sort of a settlement sometime next year. Yeah. But that was really, sticking my finger in the air, Ali. Yeah. The problem with this is it's existential for both sides. Yeah. It's existential for Putin in that if he loses the war, not only does he lose his position, I think it's quite likely he could lose his life, because not so much, we're not going to see rioting in the streets, but we will see an uprising from his close inner circle and the oligarchs who they have a mutual dependency on each other. It's existential for Ukraine, and I always quote a very good friend of mine who's a senior Ukrainian diplomat said to me in the very early days, we were having a call similar to this. He was in Brussels at the time, and he said, Cormac, it's very, very simple. He said, if Russia stops fighting, there will be no war. If we stop fighting, there will be no Ukraine. So everything that Putin is signaling at the moment is that his objectives are unchanged, although, of course, the war is going incredibly bad for him. He's been losing in the region of 30,000 troops a month for the last 6 months. May was the first month since 2023 that Ukraine actually took back more land than it lost. And, Zelensky himself estimated that the Ukrainians were killing at a rate of 5 or 6 to 1. Yep. No less than Alexander Stubb, the president of Finland, came out a couple of weeks ago and put the estimate at 8 to 1. So this is, and on top of that, the last thing I'd say is Putin, for the last 6 months, cannot recruit as many men as he's losing. Okay.
Well, we shall see where it ends, Cormac. Serious loss of life here, and we hope it ends soon. Thank you very much indeed for your perspective. Cormac Smith there, former Strategic Communications Advisor to Ukraine's former Minister for Foreign Affairs, giving his view on this latest action by the Ukrainians.